What's up, everybody? I am your host, Wes, and this is Gloves, Goal Horns and Fight Songs, our podcast, which I never remember the name of when we start these stupid things. And so we missed last week because I was under the weather. I'm back, feeling quite a bit better, and Mike is with me once again, as usual. So, how are you doing, Mike?
Doing pretty well. Glad to hear that you're feeling better.
Yeah, me too, because missing that much work is kind of annoying, but, do what you gotta do to feel better and get back in the world, so do what we gotta do.
Well, and then you felt well enough to go to a couple games this weekend, and let's be honest, that was the most important thing.
I watched a couple games this week. I did not go because they were in wherever
That is right.
wherever that team that they played was at.
That place.
Yeah, they were.
You know that place in that state.
They were there. That's where they were. Dude, my brain just shut up. They were at Colgate. That's where they were. They were at Colgate. They got the sweep over Colgate. Colgate College is in a place.
It's in the Northeast.
And it's in one of them New England-ish states.
I want to say New York.
Probably.
We're off to a solid start.
This is what happens when you miss a week. Everything gets thrown off. You gotta find your groove again.
Well, and when they play teams that we're kind of like about.
That's not.
They're not NCHC.
This is true. Where is your school? And the ECAC. They're in Hamilton, New York. That's
Got
where
it
they
right.
All right. Well, then So, I think this week we wanted to just kind of do a month cover because the first month of the season's over. We're like, a sixth of the way through the season, potentially. I'm not sure how many games they're playing this year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of in flux too, but somewhere right around there. I was not a math major, so don't ask me anything other than like 2 + 2.
I was for a semester and then quickly and intelligently changed out of that, so that didn't last long.
So yeah, a month recap. That'll go pretty well. Also because UMD did not play last week, so I don't have anything to really talk about recently, other than 2 weekends ago and from the start of the season up to 2 weekends ago.
I know there were some big games played this weekend. Once again, it was kind of a weird schedule. I think UND only had the one game at a neutral site in Nashville against Penn State, I believe is who they played.
Yeah, I honestly, full disclosure, I did not pay a whole lot of attention to anything that went on this weekend. Went on a bit of a vacation, and the only thing that I was getting updates on was the Western games from you.
Yeah, Penn State defeats University of North Dakota 6-4 in U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game in Nashville, Tennessee. And yet somehow UND finds itself in the top 10 or 5 of the college hockey rankings, depending on which poll you're looking at. So take polls for what you will out of that, I suppose.
And yet somehow the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game is taking place in Tennessee when the actual Hall of Fame is in Minnesota. Not that I'm bitter about that or anything. Just seems a bit odd.
Let's see. North Dakota is 8th currently in the USCHO.com rankings, and they are number 10 in the USA Today, USA Hockey Magazine. Which, I mean, it still seems a little high for a team that's 4-3 right now.
Yeah, and I think that's how we can start off the main conversation is there are a couple teams that are ranked higher than we probably feel they should be. Uh, North Dakota and Michigan is also the other team. Uh, we talked about this a little bit today, you and I, uh, via Messenger, and I think North Dakota, they're ranked as high as they are just based off of pedigree and the conference that they're in. Um, it's heritage, and then the conference that they're in, which the NCHC, in both of our opinions, is the best conference in the nation for hockey. Uh, but a 4-3 team should not be. They should be outside the top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Especially losing to Penn State when they're Penn State's not a bad team, but they're not a powerhouse. Where I could see if North Dakota was playing Boston and BC and Mankato for their non-conference schedule, and they're 4-3. Okay, yeah, you can still be in the top 10 because they are programs that are always going to be top tier.
Yeah.
It's not an embarrassment to lose to them. But with North Dakota, I'm trying to think, did they sweep Quinnipiac?
No, they split with Quinnipiac because they were 6-7, and I think Quinnipiac won. I want to say won the Friday game, and North Dakota won the Saturday game. I know for sure they split.
Yeah.
I don't think North Dakota has. I think the only weekend they swept might have been their first weekend when they were playing Niagara. Niagara, I believe, is who they swept.
Yep,
to
that's
start the
who
season.
They swept. And so if you're splitting with Quinnipiac and then losing to Penn State in one game, how you're even in the top 10, I don't know, other than the pedigree of the NCHC and whoever does the rankings thinking, okay, well, they're still getting going. As soon as they get into conference play, they're going to be playing top tier teams, one through, well, top to bottom, basically, that they'll do all right, and we'll see what they do against them. But if you're splitting with Quinnipiac and losing to Penn State, I don't see how you do well in the NCHC. Unless you get lucky a few times.
I don't even know that it's NCHC that's like the reason for them being ranked so high. I think it's just the fact that they're North Dakota and everyone's giving them a pass for being North Dakota. I mean, it's a team that's 50% new guys, and they were still ranked at like the top whatever in the country to even start the year, and they were predicted third in within their own conference. Like, yeah, I get it. Your name carries a lot of weight, but I just, with that much new talent, I couldn't see them being ranked so high, and to continue to be ranked as high as they are above a team like Western Michigan, who literally could be 6-0 right now if it wasn't for a high stick goal potentially, which a lot of people aren't even really necessarily agreeing that it was a high stick outside of whatever video the referee saw to make that claim.
Or even in Omaha, who's 7-1, and how are you ranked above them?
I did send you the pairwise, the current pairwise rankings too, if you want to look at those. And but even still, they're ranked at Michigan's ranked 4th there, and North Dakota is 19th, which seems a little more consistent with where I think they should be and who they've beaten and who they've lost to.
Yeah, and that was going to go back to my point of, if you're playing top tier teams and you're 4-3, then yeah, I have no issue with you being ranked them being ranked where they are. But they're not beating anybody. They're not playing top tier teams. and it might up, it's going to upset the people that are fans of Quinnipiac and Penn State and whatever. I get that because I feel the same way when people dog any Minnesota team. It's like, well, they're disrespecting us. It's just the fact of the matter is they're not beating anybody worth any worth a darn, basically.
Penn State is currently 6-1, but I'm trying to see who they've played so far.
I I don't think they've played anybody really either.
And pairwise, I believe, yep, pairwise they're in 7th. And based on the pairwise right now, Western Michigan is in first. And as a Western fan, I'm extraordinarily happy about that. The fact that we're only, in Western's case, 3 weeks into the season, I think it's kind of premature to really put our hat on staying in that number one spot for any extended period of time. But I do think in the first month that they've been near the top of the. They deserve to be near the top of the rankings as far as what they've been able to accomplish, and the fact that no one really gave them much thought at the beginning of the season, when it was a huge mistake to underestimate that team with the amount of senior leadership they had coming back, with the experience they had coming back, the fact that they were getting an extraordinarily solid goaltender back. Let's see.
I pulled up Penn State and they swept Long Island, who they just got destroyed this weekend by Omaha, I believe.
Yep.
Both games. Omaha put up 6 and 7 goals on them, and I think it was like 6-1, 7-2. So it was no contest. And then they split with Canisius.
who is a pretty solid school, not too far removed from, I'm pretty sure, a Final Four appearance. Generally near the top of the rankings as far as a team that you don't hear a lot about.
Mm-hmm. And then they swept Niagara and then beat North Dakota. So not Canisius usually is kind of the under the radar team, like AIC has been
I mean,
the last couple years.
Aside from North Dakota, Canisius is the toughest team out of the 3 they've played. So the fact that they're 5-1, 6-1, 6-1. If you were to say that they were 6-1 and gave me just those schools, knowing very little else, I would have thought their loss would be to North Dakota, honestly. But that's just going based off the name of North Dakota. So, right now I don't know that North Dakota deserves the praise that they get based on what they've accomplished so far this season.
I don't think they do, and that just kind of proves our point when you're saying if you just looked at the schedule and heard, all right, Penn State played Long Island, Canisius, North Dakota, and
Niagara.
Oh, well, they lost to North Dakota. That's proving our point as far as they're not paying attention to who's playing who.
Mm-hmm.
And now rankings, they're more or less fun to look at, in a sense where come tournament time, it doesn't really matter.
No, I mean they're definitely conversation starters, but I think for the casual fan, that's where you're gonna start getting interest in. Like, you're gonna look at the teams that are near the top of the rankings week in, week out, year in, year out, and those are gonna kind of be the teams that you might start paying attention to if you're not an avid fan of one of those places already. Whether it's because it's a local team or, in my case, it's the school I went to, like things like that. So, broad picture, I just take a poll for what it is. It's some dude's opinion or some group of people's opinions, but I wish there was kind of a better way to do it that made more sense.
Yeah,
and it wasn't all just name recognition.
And that even goes with the other team that we both think is ranked way too high, Michigan. They're going off the talent and the number of top tier draft picks that are on that team. When they've lost to Western, one game,
decisively lost to Western in one game, and I'm pretty sure it was a pretty good whooping that they got from Wisconsin in the game they lost to Wisconsin too.
Yeah, and they lost to Wisconsin, but then the second game with Western, did that go to a shootout?
No, I went to overtime, which it,
Just overtime.
again, I'm whatever the refs are doing this year is whatever the refs are doing. I'm not gonna say one way or the other. Yeah, they got shut out by Wisconsin on home ice,
Yeah.
3-0. And
That
they legitimately could have lost both games to Western. They lost 5-2 at home, and they won 3-2 in Kalamazoo because of a called back goal of a high stick, which I don't, without actually seeing the view that the ref was seeing the views that I have seen from people who have NCHC TV or have tried to take screenshots, and it doesn't look like there's any way of telling that was a high stick. And again, for a goal, the high stick line is the crossbar. But from what it looks like, the dude's stick is between his nipples and his belt. And he's not that tall. I think the crossbar comes more like collarbone height-ish, maybe slightly below, maybe nipple-ish to Ethan Frank. And in my opinion, I don't know that it was, without legitimately seeing a clean vision, I don't know how you can say there was enough evidence to overturn that goal. And there's been a couple controversial calls this year. So, is it outside the realm of possibilities that the refs got it wrong? No. Could Western be 6-0 right now? Yeah. Could Michigan have 3 losses in the last 2 weeks? Absolutely. And to just base things off of, name as opposed to performance on the ice, I think is a big mistake. And it makes teams seem stronger than they are, and it makes kind of some sloppy play sometimes.
right, and even just going back to the rankings, basing it off of who's on the team. Well, they got shut out by Wisconsin. They lost to Western, yet they're still in the top 10. They're still one of the top teams in the nation. They're still number 3 for USCHO.
Yeah.
I don't know how they are, but they are. And to me, especially getting shut out on home ice, you should drop drastically.
And USA Today has them at 4, so they're number 3 or 4 in the country with 2 losses, 2 decisive losses,
I
2
would say
losses
maybe
of 3 goals.
12. 12 would probably make a little more sense. Be like, okay, you're still ranked, you still have the talent, but you haven't proven anything. The only really
The only thing they did was they won the icebreaker tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all they've done so far this year.
And that's what I was gonna go for. And Providence, they're a good team. They're always a solid team, but the only signature win that they have is beating UMD. Now they beat them decisively. I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I looked at the score and it was like, ooh, that. Yeah, Sandy's not going to be happy about that one. But when you only have one decisive win over a good team, I can't endorse you being number 3 in the nation. I just can't.
I mean, they have 2 wins, two solid wins. They have the one over Duluth, and they have was it Minnesota State was the other team?
Oh, did they beat?
Or was it somebody else in that tournament, in the icebreaker tournament?
Yep. Sorry. Mankato beat Providence. UMD played Providence in the 3rd place game.
Yeah.
So they did beat Mankato.
Yeah. So I mean, in the USA Today poll, those are the two of the 3 teams ahead of them are teams that they beat. They're two of their 3 or 2 of their 5 best wins. because, and I was going to make this point last week, is that like Western, I think, was lowly. I mean, they were top 20, but let's just say lowly ranked because hockey kind of only does the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
They were just barely inside the numbered rankings, and they show up and they lay a stomping on you on your home ice. 5-2 is a pretty big margin, especially when you're the number one ranked team in the country at that point. 17 comes in. That's a big discrepancy between 1 and 17 as far as people's opinions. Western doesn't have to win either game that weekend to make a statement, but they win on the road. Then they come back. They're trailing. I believe Michigan scored both goal, like two. They either scored both of their goals first, or it was like Michigan scored, Western scored a little bit later to make it 1-1. Michigan went up 2-1. Western tied it again. So Western fought back each time and should have stolen the lead, or at least they thought they had the lead at the end of the game. So it wasn't even like you put them away at any point. And then you win 3-3 overtime, which I will say I do like the new overtime rules where it's a legit straight win. It's no longer 1 point apiece after 60, play for a second point. It's just win or lose. I love that idea. I think it's great. It's fantastic. And then, so really once Western forced it to overtime on Saturday, the loss that Western suffered counted for more than the win that Michigan got counted for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Like, I think in a lot of people's opinions, the fact that Western Michigan came back on them to tie the game could have beaten them in regulation and still forced overtime against the number one team in the country says more about Western's team, even though they lost, than it does for Michigan's team having won that game.
And one thing that I just noticed, I don't know if they played this weekend, but University of Minnesota, they're
actually I read that wrong. So Michigan beat Wisconsin 3-0 on Thursday and lost 4-2 on Friday. So they didn't get shut out by Wisconsin, but they did lose to unranked Wisconsin 4-2.
I'm looking up to see if Minnesota played anybody this weekend, but they, in the current rankings, UMD is only one spot above Minnesota. UMD is 5-1, Minnesota is 5-3, and I don't understand how Minnesota is still 5 after getting swept by UMD. It was a split series, home and home. But they lost. Okay, so Minnesota swept Notre Dame this weekend, which
Notre Dame's usually a pretty good school, but this year they seem to be not playing as well as they have in the past because it's primarily been a pretty legit team.
They were. I think they were finalists about 3 years ago.
I want to say
I think
they've
that
recently won the Big Ten too, because they've joined the Big Ten for hockey.
Yeah, and UMD beat them. I just can't remember if it was the semifinals or finals, and I believe it was the finals because it was at the XL Energy Center, and I was at that game.
Let's see, they're currently 15th in the pairwise.
That would be 28. I think it was 2018.
Let's see.
Yeah, it was 2018 because 2019 UMD beat UMass, and then last year, I'm missing it because they canceled it 1 year, so I'm thrown off right now.
2017?
I think it was the 2017-2018 season that UMD beat Notre Dame.
Let's see. Frozen
19 they beat UMass. 1920 there was no tournament. 2021
was this year.
was this year, and that's when UMass beat St. Cloud in the finals because UMass, yeah,
Yeah, 2018 they lost to Duluth in
yep,
the national championship.
yep, yeah, because I was at that game and that was a lot of fun.
They actually made the Frozen Four in 2017 and 2018. They lost to, I think, both eventual champions, Denver and Duluth, because they lost to Duluth in the championship game, but they lost to Denver in 2017, which I believe is the year that Duluth won it, or Denver won it
Uh,
all.
yep, Denver beat UMD in that championship game because I was also at that game after UMD won their semifinal game. My brother and I were like, "You want to go to Chicago?" Sure. So we drove down and watched the championship game, and unfortunately Denver won, but big win for the conference.
Yeah, so I mean, not too far removed. I mean, if you've got kids that were playing in 2017 and 2018, those are potentially still on the team. So you got guys who have national championship caliber experience on your team.
Hmm.
And currently Notre Dame is 4-3 right now.
I think they're a team that's going to figure it out eventually.
Um, Omaha is kind of deceptive at 7-1. Not really reached a high caliber of opponent quite yet, but they'll start getting into conference play here soon, so we'll really see what they're made of. Um, and then I think I got some. I don't know if you have some stats for Duluth for the first part of the season, but I've got some interesting ones for Western for the first 6 games that they've played. And they currently have 5 players averaging over a point per game. Not only do they have 5 players, but of those 5 players, 3 of them are seniors or above, so graduate students, guys who decided to come back for the extra year. And the other 2 are juniors. And then after them, the next highest scorers each have 5 points apiece, and they're seniors or graduate students. So you're getting production from your experienced players, and at a rate that's legitimately like pretty high, considering the teams that Western has played so far.
Yeah, and the UMD is a little bit they're a little bit more balanced. Actually, our leading scorer is a sophomore, like Biondi from Hermantown. He has 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. Um, but then we have, you know, junior captain Noah Cates, senior. They got 5, but it's pretty balanced all throughout. There's a few younger guys that, yeah, they don't have points, but they're not playing as much. But everybody's kind of spreading the wealth around.
Yeah, we currently have 16 players with who've accounted for at least a point. So I mean, definitely like getting some depth. But I just thought it was like interesting that like you want your experienced players, your upperclassmen, to set an example of how to play, and it's showing up in points per game. We have 2 guys with 9 points apiece in Ethan Frank and Drew Warad. Ethan's our top scorer at 6 goals. He's averaging a goal per game. He was kept off the score sheet as far as goal wise on Friday in the big comeback win, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But he did answer back and get a big game winning goal on Saturday's game. So I think he'll take the fact that he got the game winning goal on Saturday and was kind of kept scoreless or goalless on Friday. And then Drew Warad's kind of doing it a different way. He's got 2 goals and 7 assists. And Michael Joyo, a senior defenseman with a hell of a shot. And I'm pretty sure all 7 of his assists are probably like mostly tip-ins. Because if he lets that cannon go, it's either getting tipped or it's going in the back of the net. So I think that's what's happening on a majority of those. And then Ronnie Addard is sitting at 8 points, 4 goals, 4 assists. And I'm pretty sure he picked up all 4 of those goals this weekend. I know he
You
at
know,
least had 3 because he had 3 on Friday.
you'll take them where you get them. And I just did a count in UMD. We also have 16 players that have at least a point. Um, but there's no one that's really lopsided one way or the other. The only one would be Kobe Roth. Um, he's got 4 assists and 1 goal. He's a fifth-year senior, but that's kind of his game. From what I've noticed, is he's more of a facilitator. But if you leave him alone, he will bury it on you, and he doesn't really care. He's just there for the team win. But everybody is balanced as far as goals and assists. It's like, all right, well, I don't have the shot. Here, you take the shot. It's a very balanced team, very team oriented team, instead of individual stats, and that's how they've been for the past 5-6 years, especially. There's no one superstar, kind of like Michigan has a couple. It's everybody gets theirs as long as we win, and it's proven itself in how many players are in the NHL or knocking at the door of the NHL.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we're seeing a big uptick in guys from all across the NCHC be signed as undrafted free agents, showing that, you don't necessarily have to be drafted to make the big leagues.
Absolutely.
Does it help? Probably helps a little bit. But, I mean, there's also a good number of guys who get drafted and never see, much past the AHL, so.
Yeah, and the guys that are playing in the NCHC, it's definitely the NCHC and Hockey East are the 2 college conferences that are the show me. Like, if you're good and if you do well in these conferences, even if you're not drafted, teams are going to take notice and they're going to pick you up. Nick Wolf was one of the recent UMD players that got picked up undrafted, and I think actually I want to say Nick Swaney was also undrafted, and they're both. Or Swaney is in the Stars system, and Wolf was picked up by Boston, I want to say, after theirs. So it helps to be drafted, yeah, but you're playing in the NCHC. If you do well, teams are going to notice.
Yep.
The scouts are going to notice.
For sure. I just sent you the highlight reel for the top 5 plays of the week. And the number 1 play of the week was Ethan's game-winning goal from Saturday night. So I guess if we want to, we can talk about this last weekend.
Or you can, since your team played.
Western did play. I watched a little bit of Friday's game, and man, that game was a roller coaster. Because Western was down 5-0 at one point. I turned the game off at 4-0. I was like, all right, this is how this is going to go. I don't want to watch any more of this. But I followed the game on Twitter, and it was 5-0. Oh, great. This game's over. I'm done. I'm getting angry about it now. But the messages pop up, and it's 5-1 now. A couple minutes later, it's 5-2. All right, go to second intermission, down 5-2. Well, this is an interesting turn of events, but I'm going to just leave the game off because they started coming back and I wasn't watching. At some point, it's 5-3. What's going on here? What's happening? Then it's 5-4. Then it's 5-5. Well, what the hell? You come back and tie this game up in the third period. What is going on? And then I believe it's less than 2 minutes left. Western scores, and then it gets I believe it's Ronnie Eddard that gets the game-winning goal on Friday to complete the hat trick and complete the comeback, and it's just insane. 4 goals in the third period, erase a 5-0 deficit, and win 6-5 in Friday's game. Absolutely insane. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that before.
It's to erase a 3-goal deficit is impressive. To erase a 5-goal deficit and then win,
it's insane. It's absolutely nuts.
You never hear of it.
No. I mean, now I will say, it seems like the word of the week for Western Michigan was resilience, because that's all they showed this weekend. They showed great resilience in being able to come back and fight their way back slowly but surely, because it wasn't like they started expending any outrageous amounts of energy. They just played their game, got some pucks to go in. They also put up over 50 shots on Friday. On goal. Like, hats off to that goalie for withstanding that barrage and only giving up 6 goals.
His teammates, they better buy him a steak dinner.
Lord, did you guys not help your goalie out by letting him eat 50 shots?
That's you give him a hug, you buy him a blanket and ice pack, a nice steak dinner.
You better say sorry.
Yeah, at the very least say sorry, but yeah, for a goalie at that level to only give up 6 facing 50 plus shots, that's impressive. It's more impressive if they give up less, but I mean, come on, they're not easy shots that are coming in on them.
Oh no, not from. I don't know if you've seen Western's team lately, but there are some absolute rocket launchers on this team, like heavy shots. I mean, just freaking clappers from the blue line being ripped. Like, it's ridiculous how hard some of the shots come off this team are. And then, as high powered of an offensive day Friday was, Saturday was the complete opposite. Like, this game, I think, was 0-0 at least through the first period. It might have been 0-0 through 40 minutes. And then Colgate scores first. Western fights back, ties the game up. So once again, coming from behind. And then if you watch those plays that I sent you, the tweet from the NCHC, 3-on-3 overtime, Bussy makes an incredible save in the defensive zone, which sparks, I don't know how they got that rush off, but Ethan Frank just takes off. And I'm pretty sure he scored that goal from behind the goal line. Like, his entire body is behind the net, and he somehow gets his stick around the post and tucks it. It was ridiculous. Insane. And
that was an impressive goal, and especially for a game winner.
So, again, I think the word of the weekend for Western Michigan, and really the last couple weeks, has been resiliency, because they almost came back to beat Michigan. They didn't let the circumstances dictate their play. They decided to go out and say, nope, we're going to play our game. We're going to play the way we want to. It hasn't been working out too well for us, but, if we can gain our composure and play the way we want to, we can get the results that we want. And I think that's definitely what they showed. And if I'm Minnesota Duluth, I look at those 2 games and go, we have to play 60 minutes against this team.
And that's, I think, it's a perfect transition into where I was going to go was next weekend, where it's
we start conference play. It's big boy versus big boy. Time to put your big boy pants on and show up for 60 minutes of 120 minutes on the weekend, but 60 minutes each night of hard hitting, body on body hockey.
And it's not an easy way for us to start the conference schedule. Now, there's no real easy way to start the conference schedule in the NCHC other than maybe playing Colorado College. And that's
But even then, like I feel like Western struggled against Colorado College. So even for at least for us, that's not an easy start. Like,
and it's not easy for anybody because as bad of a cliche as it is, it's a trap series because you look, oh, okay, well, we're going to beat CC and whatever. They're not going to go away. So you can lose at least one game, if not get swept by them. You're going to lose at least Friday, or you can lose at least Friday, and that'll wake you up if you're not ready for it. But UMD Western, based off of everything that's gone on with the schedule, that's a heavyweight fight.
yeah,
That's we've played some similar, well, one similar team. Um,
yeah. I think we
in
only have one common opponent right now, and that was Michigan.
Yeah, yeah, but they're one of the top tier teams in the nation, uh, allegedly. Uh, but talent wise, yes.
Yes.
And we got spanked by them. You split with them. Uh, it's gonna be, no pun intended, but it's gonna be a dogfight. It's both teams are gonna have to come out to play. Goalies are gonna have to be on their game, but I expect a low scoring series in general with how these teams play. Because yeah, you put up 50 plus shots against Colgate, UMD is not going to allow that. The way UMD plays is tight defensively, not allowing a lot of shots, blocking a lot of shots, and then countering. And I think that's kind of how Western plays as well.
Yeah, I mean, Western's a big grind team. Like they want to wear you down from the minute the puck drops until about 5 minutes left in the third period. And if they haven't scored then, they're gonna make sure you're tired, and they're gonna put you in a position where they can just kind of control. They're a puck possession team. They want to control the puck. They want you to be tired, and they want to just rip shots until your goalie gives one up because he either can't withstand the barrage or they finally find a pocket where he's not at.
And that's a good thing that we have. If Fanti gets tired, Stay Skull can come in. We learned that last year in the 5 overtime game against North Dakota. Fanti went out injured, and Stay Skull was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just come in." Uh, but I don't think the way that Sandlin coaches the team, it's very defensive, and so the players might get tired, but he wants a fresh goaltender in there as much as possible. So 25 to 30 shots with for a game is acceptable
And
by his standards.
I mean, looking at the last few games in this series, the last couple years worth, it's been pretty close. Western won the regular series at home in Kalamazoo. We swept you guys 4-0 the first game, 4-1 the second game. That was in February of this year. You swept us in January of this year. Plus, we had a couple games in the pod. So, I mean, like, it's been back and forth, and they're two good teams. And really, I think this year it'll be interesting because we stole your associate coach. So we have a little inside knowledge that we didn't used to have on Minnesota Duluth and kind of how they game plan and at least what they like to do with the former coach.
And I think the fun thing is going to be it's two experienced teams going against each other. It's not like a Michigan where young, high flying, showtime. It's I think we're the two oldest teams in the NCHC. It, maybe top three, but at least two of the top three oldest teams. So there are a lot of players that have been around the block. They know what to expect. They know how to grind, and it's just gonna make I. I wish I could watch both games. I'll at least be able to watch Saturday and listen to Friday as I'm driving up to go deer hunting. But uh, it should make for quite a fun series.
I am going to be chomping at the bit to leave work on Friday. Because I'm probably I'll be able to listen to the first period, or at least the first like 20 minutes or so, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game. And I'll probably get there either as the first period's ending or sometime during the first intermission. So I'm going to miss the first period as far as being there, but I'm going to be just dreading the whole day trying to not be in that building and like get to Lawson.
Does work allow you to paint your face?
No, I mean, there's certain buttons I don't press with that. So, and that's one of them. Like, I'm not even going to try to ask, but work's pretty lenient as far as like what they allow us to get away with visually. But, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah, that's what you have Saturday for.
Yeah, for sure. That's a long time to be in face paint. I've done long days before like that, and it's not the most comfortable.
Yeah, I think it should be a lot of fun though. Just unfortunate that I have to listen to one, but if I get to my parents early enough, maybe I'll catch the last little bit of the third period.
And it's fine. I'll just text you the whole time you're driving, and your phone will keep going off, and I might even lie to you and say the score is not what it is.
I'm maybe I'll just pull off at a rest area and start to watch. Who knows?
I'm really looking forward to this weekend. Like, I was really looking forward to the Michigan series. I think it turned out to be worth the price of admission, but I'm 100% looking forward. I'm probably just as much looking forward to this weekend as I was that weekend.
Yeah, let's see if there's any others that seem like they'd be interesting. What is this weekend?
The 5th? No. Yeah, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5th and 6th?
So we got Miami and Omaha, Denver and North Dakota, and then St. Cloud State against CC.
I mean, that's a lot of good hockey this weekend.
Yeah, the Miami Omaha series should be a really good series.
Denver and North Dakota is usually two teams that play each other extremely difficult. They're two teams that I think build a little bit bigger than the average team. I feel like St. Cloud generally tends to build a little bit smaller but kind of quicker.
Yeah, I think St. Cloud will take care of business against CC, but the other two, Miami and Omaha and Denver, North Dakota, those will be. I could see them being split at the minimum. If there was going to be a sweep, I would say Denver over North Dakota. If there was going to be a sweep, but because Miami, Omaha.
I have so many question marks about Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Because of who they've played so far to start the year. And the series with Long Island kind of skewed some of their stats. Like, they've got a kid who's already got 10 goals on the season, and they won one of those games against Long Island 7-1.
Yeah.
So I mean, take that for what it's worth. I'm not trying to say Omaha's a bad team. I'm just saying I don't have the clearest opinion of them just yet.
they're
And
they're they're not playing teams like UMD or Western, where UMD playing Michigan and Providence and then the Gophers and uh, shoot, who else have we played? I should know this. Uh,
no, North Dakota played Bemidji. You guys didn't play Bemidji.
yeah, we did play Bemidji.
Or was that the exhibition that you guys did?
Uh,
No.
no, we played Wisconsin in the exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah, we played a series with Bemidji.
And then Miami was doing a reunion tour of the CCHA. They opened their season with a split against Ferris, won 7-4 the first game, lost 4-3, got swept by Michigan State, have a tie with Bowling Green, which doesn't make sense because they don't do ties anymore, but it just says 2-2, so they must have legitimately tied after overtime. And then lost to Bowling Green 6-4. So Miami's struggling a little bit. One win against some decent opponents.
Omaha, their one loss is to Lake Superior State.
Pretty solid team.
In overtime, the first game of the year, and yeah, Lake Superior, they're solid. The trouble they run into is the buzzsaw that is Mankato. They same conference, and hey, we have a good team. Oh crap!
Yeah, so I mean, so we don't really know too much about. I mean, I guess we might know a little bit more about Miami kind of struggling against some of those teams, but I don't know anything about Maine. Mm-hmm. I do know Alaska Fairbanks has kind of struggled here and there, or and then Long Island's so new that I don't know anybody that really knows much about that team just yet.
I don't think they know much about their team in general. I think they're third year. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. I think they're their third year in.
Long Island, I think this is their second year. I'm pretty sure this is they're still extraordinarily new. Like, I think they were introduced last year. And whether or not they even played last year with the COVID year or not. So this might actually be like their first real season.
Yeah, they did last year. Actually, according to Wikipedia, or whatever it's worth, school announced their intention to begin a varsity schedule for the 2020-2021 season on April 30th of 2020.
Yeah, so that would have been the COVID year.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how much they did. So this is really kind of their first real experience with college hockey and traveling and playing, markedly better schools, I would say.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like a St. Thomas.
But, at the same time, like, Omaha made the most out of their opportunities. They're 7-1. They've won 7 straight. They've been outscoring opponents like crazy. And really their closest game outside of the overtime loss is 5-3.
And
or 3-2. 3-2 to Alaska.
They're basically doing what a good team should do.
Yes.
It is beat the teams that you're supposed to beat and beat them by what you're supposed to beat them by.
Also, they haven't traveled yet.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And they still don't even travel this week. They don't start traveling until November 12th, and then they go up to St. Cloud, and then they got big travel to Alaska. So,
yeah, the dorm life is getting a little comfy for them. They gotta get away, even though the hotel is probably more comfortable than the dorms. Well, yeah. You never know with that being the big program at that school.
Right.
Basketball is okay there, but
and I mean, it depends on what their restrictions are too, because I'm pretty sure Western didn't do because of the COVID stuff. They were like, nope, you guys are just staying wherever you stay this year. We're not doing hotels for the night before the games. So, that might be something too.
Yeah, I think everything is a little different for each team, but I think NCHC is probably cracking down and saying we want to get this season in. We want to get everybody safe, healthy, and get
Yeah,
another national championship. Take it back
I think
from the East.
I think they only had to postpone. Like, I know 2 games at the end of the season. They postponed the Colorado College Denver series, which screwed up a lot of stuff at the end of the year, as far as seedings and rankings, and Western kind of got the shaft on that deal. Um, and then Colorado College was late getting to the pod because of COVID stuff.
Yeah, they were.
But I think they played out all of those games. They made up those games. They just didn't make up games at the end of the year. So, I mean,
Yeah, they did make up those games that they missed
so
at the beginning.
honestly, I like the schedule for this weekend as far as NCHC teams go. Like, I don't know how you, to start out the season, how you really pick better matchups than what we've got.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe looking at record wise, maybe to even it out, you would do Omaha versus St. Cloud, and Colorado College versus Miami is kind of like as even as you're gonna get matchups. But welcome to the NCHC. It's not gonna be even every week.
yeah, you can't really. There's always going to be that one outlier, and whoever CC played that, like you said, Miami, St. Cloud, and CC, or Omaha, St. Cloud, and CC Miami would be the only other change I would make. But Miami, Omaha, that that's usually pretty close and probably pretty entertaining for everybody. Um, Denver, North Dakota. Yeah, you can't get a much better schedule for the start of the conference season than you have right now.
I think if I were to pick these games, I'm taking Western because they're my team. I also think they're playing extremely well. I think they have a lot of confidence going into this. Um,
In a sweep?
no, just Friday. I'm gonna do just Friday's games, and
Okay.
then I'll do Saturday. I mean, realistically, I think the expectation is that they should split. My heart's gonna say Western's gonna sweep because again they're my team. I think it's completely possible that they could, again with the way they're playing.
I thought you were going to say it's completely wrong, but that's my opinion.
My brain says split. I think Western, if they're going to lose a game, they're going to lose Friday. Like if I'm thinking with my head, I think they would potentially lose Friday. It would be a wake up call. But the way they're playing, I could definitely see them winning both games. It's within the realm of possibilities for sure. And it kind of depends on what Duluth does and how Duluth plays. But Western's a team that, again, they don't like to let circumstances, dictate play. They want play to dictate circumstances. So, Denver, North Dakota, I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to say Denver wins Friday 3-2. And then Miami, Omaha. Miami's struggling a little bit. Omaha is this offensive force for whatever reason. Maybe it's who they're playing. Maybe we're just not giving them enough credit because we haven't seen them yet. But I'm pretty sure, they were a team that, when we did our preseason rankings, had a decent number of returning guys and some senior power to them. Miami plays everybody really tough. I think Omaha's going to win. And it's either going to be extremely close, like 2-1, or it's going to be something like Omaha 5-2. Or like kind of where my brain's at. Not as I don't think it's gonna be a super big blowout. Like I don't think Miami's or Omaha's gonna put up 7 on them, but I could definitely see him getting 5-2. Like that could be a potential. And then St. Cloud and Colorado College, I give it to St. Cloud. St. Cloud's goalie has been really good. I know I kind of dogged on him.
Rennick.
I know I kind of dogged on him for winning goalie of the week the first week of the season, but I just don't know that was a strong enough opponent to warrant it based on what other teams in the conference did. But
yeah,
but he's definitely like shown he's deserved to be goalie of the week other times, and I think he's goalie of the month this month, so well deserved for him.
Yeah, he's solid. He's been there a couple years now, I think. And we both agreed. Yeah, you played St. Thomas. They're still trying to get there. It's their first year. But he's been solid for at least, this is his second or third year. But so at least 1 year that he's been solid.
And I think he's got 2 shutouts already this season, 2 or 3. I want to say 2 for sure. I think it's what I saw earlier today. If I have to pick a score, for whatever reason, 4-0 St. Cloud is a number I see that's possible as being the score of that game.
I could see that.
I think that's something that could happen. And I'm not even going to freaking guess a score for Western Minnesota because those two teams have gone as wishy-washy as a windshield wiper, and it's ridiculous. So, good luck picking that one.
You could say, what I would say is a 1-goal game.
I mean, like I said, I mean, even last year, like there was as much as Western won like 4-1 one game, and so like, and then they won the next game like 3-2. Like it's gonna be, that's just gonna be one that you have to watch in order to figure out what's gonna happen. I do think Western's gonna win. I think they've been playing extremely well. I think the senior class has shown up. They've set a really good example of how to play. You know, I did see somewhere that someone was comparing Western and Minnesota Duluth as far as like play styles, and they're similar teams as far as how they build, how they play. When they were talking about, you know, Michigan, and Michigan had already seen a team like Western in Minnesota Duluth, but it didn't go the same way for Michigan against us as it did against Duluth. So
yeah, and I would say that they are similarly built teams. I think UMD versus Michigan could have gone the same way. I just don't think the guy showed up.
I think
which happened.
To me, it seemed like your guys' biggest issue was the one big penalty. And Western was able to not only, I mean, I don't think they limited their penalties. I think they took a bunch of them, but they didn't allow any goals, and there wasn't any majors, and there wasn't any 5-on-3s or anything like kind of like that. Like it seemed like it was 4-on. There's a lot of 4-on-4 calls this year too. Like it's been a weird year as far as like types of hockey that have been played. And I think there was even, maybe it was the Michigan series, there was a 4-on-3 power play. Like, how often do you see that in college hockey or even hockey in general anymore?
Yeah, not very often.
So like it's been a pretty weird year as far as like calls and stuff. But I think that's what Western was able to do. Western's been able to, when they've taken penalties, they've killed them off for the most part. We did get it into a little bit of trouble against Colgate. We gave up 3 in that first game, which is how it got to 5-0 so quickly. So hopefully they can get that in check, because you can't give power plays to NCHC schools. They will hurt you frequently, and they will make you regret it. So there was even a penalty shot during the Michigan game. Ethan Frank had a penalty shot. Shorthanded. He was shorthanded, went down, got a penalty shot. They stopped the penalty shot. There was another penalty called like a little bit after, and Ethan put that goal in, and that was how we tied the game up at 2 apiece. That's what it was for that Michigan game on Saturday. that Saturday night game. Yeah, that's how my brain works. Something triggers something, and then I have to get through the thought. But
Otherwise, you won't sleep.
nope. Or I'll just get stuck, and my brain will just freeze out, kind of like it's
Then
doing
you'll just
right
be broken.
Yeah.
You'll be like a broken record.
Yep. Saturday. Do we want to pick games for Saturday?
I was gonna say I can just go through mine quick because I was just gonna pick the series.
Pick your Fridays.
I think Western wins on Friday. I think the series is split. I think UMD. I'm just gonna go through the whole gamut. So I think UMD. Typically on the road, we're not great on Fridays. Usually lose the first one. We'll win the second one. Miami, Omaha, I think that's a split. It is in Omaha, so I think Omaha wins the first one. Miami gets the second one. I do think Denver sweeps in North Dakota, and they're able to silence the crowd at Engelstead. I just think Denver is a better team than North Dakota. And then St. Cloud versus CC. That one's pretty self-explanatory. It is in Colorado Springs, but Cloud is just too good of a team. They're gonna take care of business and come out of there with a sweep.
St. Cloud plays on Olympic ice at home. Is Colorado College's new arena Olympic ice, or did they switch to NHL ice?
The standard.
Because I think Broadmoor Arena was Olympic sized.
Let's see. I will find that for you in a minute if you want to go by your Saturday games.
Because I think, and not that it'll make much difference, honestly. I don't know how much difference it makes because St. Cloud has played just as well at St. Cloud as they have at Western, and Western uses NHL sized ice. So, not a super big deal. But, just being comfortable playing, knowing that you're going to Colorado College, and if it switched from Olympic size ice to normal size ice might be something to consider there because they weren't expecting or they're not used to playing on the smaller ice there. So that could be something. And I think Colorado College could shock the world, and I'm going to give them Saturday's game. I'm going to have Denver sweep North Dakota. I think whoever wins Friday versus Western and Duluth, unless Western sweeps, it'll be a split, and whoever loses Friday will win Saturday. I think is what I want to say for that series. And then Miami and Omaha. I think they're going to split. I think Miami has the ability to beat Omaha. And they're going to be a bit better of a test than the teams they've played so far.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, like I said, is Omaha hasn't traveled, so they may not be as tired even at this point in the season. But Miami can have good games, and they can beat anybody anytime. So as much as I hate to say it, because they're from that terrible state to the south of me.
Can't be worse than the terrible state to the east of me.
So,
and Robson Arena, the new Colorado College, is NHL sized. It is not Olympic sized, not international.
And Broadmoor was international or Olympic sized. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so. Where was it? I just had it up. Come on.
one NHL and one Olympics. So that doesn't really help. Apparently they have 2 sheets of ice and they're one of each.
Well, thanks, guys.
I want to say that Colorado College played on the Olympic sized.
Yeah.
But
I would think so, but doesn't matter now.
no, but I mean it's gonna bother me unless I figure it out.
Well, good
And
luck with that.
and like I said, it could be one of those things where it was just like you're used to playing on one size sheet. So not only are you playing in a new arena, you have the atmosphere, the thinner air. How much of a difference that really makes, I don't know. I'm not a player. I know it wasn't really that bad walking around Colorado Springs, other than the fact that the air was dry and that kind of sucked. But
well, when you got a hot dog in your hand or a pretzel, you're really not paying attention to that.
no. So either way, I'm just thinking like maybe it makes a difference to have them used to playing on Olympic sized ice, and now you're going to standard ice or NHL sized ice, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Could just be one more wrinkle that St. Cloud wasn't necessarily prepared for.
Yeah, it's possible. I just think that they can make adjustments pretty quickly. They're
sure.
fairly experienced team, and Larson's a good coach, so not too worried about them.
No, I know they do tend to play better on the larger ice because they tend to build more speed.
Yeah, they definitely
they
have
tend to be more speedy guys than big. If you can pin them against the boards, by God, please do. But if they get into a potential where they got a little more room to get around you, they're gonna get around you.
And I think that's they've kind of built their teams to get the home, win as much as you can at home and hope you go 50 or 500 on the road, get there. And I think that's hurt them in the tournaments a little bit, except for last year. I mean, they got to the national championship.
Yep.
So they're figuring it out, but regardless, this weekend should be fun.
I'm looking forward to this weekend a lot. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us. So, if you happen to stumble upon this, it's somehow, some way, and you want to leave a comment, do it down below. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, our Twitter handles are under our pictures below. Mike is at Morrow04. I'm at Painted Bronco. The show is at Goalhorns and Fight Songs with no O's, I think. It'll be spelled down below. So have a good one. Adios.
Good night.